So what if I told you 26 is PGA Tour average? Let me see. Can you get to that? 26. I just lied what you got there, 26. 23 is PGA Tour average, but that's pretty good. All right, so we got Hayden Springer here today at TPI. He's 28 years old, going into his second year on the PGA Tour. He's 6'3", 210 pounds. He's from Nashville, went to school in Texas. He said the best part of his game is that he's a great player. He actually knows how to play the game, right? So very creative out there. Great iron player, club head speed over 120 miles an hour with the driver, and putts like 10 to 25 feet. Those are his strengths. He said if there is a weakness in his game, it would be on the short putts and chipping around the green. I've heard some amazing things. I'm looking forward to spending the day with him. If you like videos like this and more content from my TPI, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button below. We'll keep you notified anytime a new video launches. What's your goal in your career? What's your goal?
I want to be the best in the world.
Okay, what do I need to do to make that happen?
I think consistency. So maybe just understanding kind of, okay, I do this really well, but I need to focus here, and that's where the time can be best spent. Like how
to practice better?
Yes.
It's one of my favorite conversations, by the way.
I feel like I don't necessarily do it effectively.
Okay, let's start with that. One of my favorite topics in golf is motor learning. And what I mean by that is how humans learn. You know, anytime you're trying to learn a new skill, you're motor learning, right? So whether it's learning how to write cursive or if it's learning how to make a putt, that's motor learning skills. And there is so much research out there on the best ways for humans to learn. And it's amazing to me on how many players do it the worst way or the slowest way. And there's much faster ways to learn once you understand the science. Take me through a practice. What do you do now? Let's say we're gonna go practice today.
Or just at home?
I'd like to know all of it. So let's start with at home, away from the tournament.
At home, I think I'd probably do a little bit better. But I would say pretty standard for me is to play at least 9 holes every day. So I play quite a bit.
And are you just playing, or are you trying to do anything?
It's kind of a mix. Like I'll go play with guys, you know, like have games, do all that. But then if I play by myself, then it's a little bit more. You know, like I might be working on something, all of that stuff. But
when you say you might be working on something like a swing type of thing?
Like swing field.
Okay, all right.
I would say probably 60-40, 60% of the time on the range, 40% chipping, putting. I kind of have spurts, and this is would be a part of the conversation, is like, I think I tend to give myself, the more time that I spend hitting balls, the more I just kind of like, my mind starts turning.
So does that mean the worse you get?
Yes. Like in a way, it's like like I'm almost like doing too much and thinking about too much, to then I can kind of work myself into, okay, I just spent 2.5 hours, 3 hours out here, but I don't know really what I got out of it. You know, when it comes to motor learning, I rarely see the problem with our tour players is the inability to work hard. They wouldn't really be at this level if they didn't work hard. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to take all those hours and waste them. You want to use them effectively. So we usually don't have a, hey, I'm just not working hard enough problem. It's we're not working the right way problem. Tell me about driver practice. How do you do that? I don't really, I mean, I probably hit, when I'm practicing, maybe 5 to 10 tee shots.
So don't do a lot of practice on driver.
No, I mean,
putter, tell me about putter.
The main thing, and I've done it for a while, is I just hit 20 minutes of putts on a Sharpie line or a chalk line. And just kind of repetition there, 20 minutes, anywhere from probably like 5 to 8 feet.
So if you put the chalk line down and you get up there and the ball rolls perfectly on the chalk line, are you good and then you move on? Or if it's off, then you work on your mechanics to make sure it's rolling on there?
I mean, it almost never is.
It's almost never is what? Off?
It's never off, yeah.
So the problem with putting on a chalk line over and over again is you've got previous information. In other words, when you make the first putt, you had to read the putt, you had to try and predict where the speed, and you go through and hit it. Now, if you miss it, you have previous information. If you're gonna go do the same putt again, well, it's kind of cheating. You kind of like watch the person in front of you putt, so you kind of know what it's gonna do. But when you go play golf, you're not gonna have that previous information. And every time you make that putt, whether there's a guidance device like a chalk line or previous information, you're really not practicing what you do in your sport. You think you're getting better, but you've already solved the problem before. You don't have to do it now, and it's really a false illusion of learning. All right?
Yeah, that's mostly like very stroke specific. mechanics. Just get reps putting on that line.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then
that's it.
that's your whole putting practice.
Yeah.
Really?
Okay. I will putt around. I'll hit putts like just field putts, lag putting. But
So just one ball around different holes?
yeah, just a couple balls and do that, but it's really, it's not specific or consistent, or it's kind of just.
Getting used to the speed of the green,
Yes,
the
like
feel
it's.
of the grass.
Yes, but I couldn't tell you I spend 45 minutes every day doing.
I call that sighting the gun. It's like if you're a shooter, you're making sure the alignment is on the sight is perfect, and you spend time doing that. But it sounds like you sight the gun, but then you don't do a lot of target practice. Is that correct?
Yeah.
You just do it when you play.
Right.
Okay. So one of the most common things that players do differently between long putts and short putts is the way you practice. You might say, hey, when I'm putting from far away, I don't use a line, or I'm just more creative, I just control speed. But when it's short, I do this. If you do something different on putts that are short versus putts that are long, and your long putts are better than your short putts, maybe he doesn't practice properly for the short putts, because that's very common. Tournament week. Take me through that.
This year it's been, I feel like every week has been a little bit different. But typically like Monday, get there, go warm up, and that's more just like a warm up. Just like run through the bag,
Okay.
just get loose, all that, and then go play 9 holes. I feel like I've gotten stuck a lot in going to the range afterwards and just hitting a bunch of balls with I'm just there.
Based on your performance when you played?
No, just there. I feel like there's
Trying to figure
part
out something to do?
yeah, like something to do, like spending time. Like you feel like you need to spend time, right?
Yeah.
You see other people on the range and you feel like you should be there?
Yeah. Like, and that's been a real.
That's the biggest challenge on the Corn Ferry Tour. Show up Monday morning, beat balls till Wednesday.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think another old concept in motor learning is whoever works the hardest wins. If you're not practicing 8 hours a day, well, then you're getting behind. And really, the evidence is very clear that that's not true. It's kind of like most people drive a lot of hours every day. Well, why are you not a Formula One driver? I mean, you've been spending all this time driving. I don't get it. Why aren't you there? We all know it's different, right? So just putting hours in on the clock does not make you an expert at something. It's effective practice that matters.
I think Colonial was probably the last week for me that I was kind of like, I think I missed 7 cuts in a row, and I was just like, I'm worn out. I'm not hitting it good. I'm not playing well. And just kind of like, all right, I got to stop spending 4 or 5 hours Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday hitting balls, aimlessly walking away feeling like I'm,
Yeah.
And it's weird because it's like I feel like I know better than that.
Yeah.
But then this year, I spent a huge chunk of the year doing that and got nothing out of it.
Did you have a goal in mind every time you go practice, like what you're working on?
I would say it's more for me like working on some sort of feel, like kind of something that I'm, with my coach, we've been working on. I guess it could be.
It's more of working on your mechanics. So when you go out.
Right.
So when you go practice, you're thinking, I'm working on mechanics.
Yeah.
When I hear a player say, I think of practice just as a way to groove my mechanics, that to me is old thinking when it comes to motor learning. It's like doing the same thing over and over again and trying to make it automatic. To motor learn requires resolving the problem, getting challenged with new things, and practice changes a lot when you start to introduce those types of elements. Ranking you PGA Tour right now, iron play, where would you rank yourself?
I would say definitely with mid irons.
Uh-huh.
Like I would say like top 10, top 20.
How do I make you number one?
That's a good question.
I'm just curious what you think. So if I take your superpower and I want to make it number one in the world, do I need to do more structured practice like this with your irons and try and figure out how to hit more shots and different varieties, different things, or it's more of just repeat what I'm good at?
I mean, I want to say like repeat what I'm good at.
Okay. If I said block practice versus random practice, do you know the difference to those?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me.
Block would be like technique, spend this, 30 minutes working on technique, doing the same thing, and then random would be switching it up, probably more like the golf course, different shots, different clubs.
What percentage of your practice do you think is block versus random?
90%.
90% block?
Yeah. I would
Okay.
think I spend most of my time block.
When it comes to learning a new skill, you have two options when it comes to practice. You have what's called block practice and random practice. Block practice is I'm going to repeat the same thing over and over again. Like if I'm going to work on free throws, I'm going to stand at the free throw line and I'm just going to hit free throws for an hour. That's block practice. The second option is random practice. Random practice is if I'm going to work on free throws, yeah, I'm going to shoot a free throw, but then I'm going to go do a three-pointer, and then I'm going to go do a layup, and I'm going to do random shots around the court, and then come back to the free throw. Do you know what the research says on that? Like what's the statistically would help you improve the most? It would probably be the other way around, like 80% random, 20% block. I mean, there are a lot of experts that say you should never do block. But that's for learning. What's 12 times 23?
Take me a second.
Go ahead.
240. Is it 276? No.
So let's say it was 276.
Is that right?
That's right. Let's say it's 276. What's 12 times 23?
276.
What's 12 times 23? Are you getting better at math now?
No.
Why not?
Because I know the answer.
That's the problem with block practice. Apply that to anything you do.
Yeah.
First putt you did on the chalk line, you try to control this. The next one, it's 12 times 23. Are you getting better at math? Or are you just running? Are you just sitting there running things because somebody told you should practice math?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want you to understand, like when you go play, if every shot you had was a free throw, dude, let's just block practice. Let's get really good at this, and let's just go do this. Unfortunately, we're in a game where that is not. We hopefully don't have the same shot twice in a row, or else we hit it out of bounds. So you have two options. Both options work. The research shows that random practice makes you better, block practice makes you better. Now, what's the difference? The difference is random practice tends to make you a lot better, a lot quicker. It's kind of interesting. You said you did 20 minutes chalk line from 5 to 8 feet. But your strength is 10 to 25 feet. So what you practice block is not your strength. Pay attention to that. Just pointing out obvious things if I'm just looking out from out there, right? You said I do random lag putts with my long ones.
Yeah.
Like that's doing random math formulas. You're probably better at math at that distance than you are from you do 7 plus 3 over and over again. I'm like, dude, that.
Yeah, that is a really good point.
So a lot of times just when you look at practice, you look at it and you're like, all right, this is what I think would happen. And you look at the stats, you're like, yeah, that's kind of what's happening. I think one of the reasons why this is a hard concept and it's not obvious is that when you practice something block, you get better at it, right? So it feels like you're learning. You're like, hey, I'm getting better at this. And when you do random, man, it's challenging. It can be very frustrating. Like hey, I keep failing. It's like I'm trying to ride a bike. I fell off to the right. Now I'm falling off to the left. And then I fell off to the right again. And you think you're getting worse, but what you're learning is 10 times magnitude what you're learning block practice. Like I'm learning what it feels like to fall right. I'm learning what it feels like to fall left. And I'm putting all that together to keep myself upright. Whereas if I just fall right, I feel like I got it. As soon as I go out there and the road banks left, I'm going to fall left. Right? So you have to have those failures to learn. That's what learning is all about. Now, you didn't mention, well, chipping sounded like it was a very small part of your practice. You said you have a buddy, you chip, like you just play games on that. So that's more random. Do you know what's wrong with your chipping? Like if you were to air detect?
I've been to a couple coaches and technique they've all said is like they have nothing, like they're happy with my technique.
And your contact's good?
Contact is good.
So what's the problem with your chipping?
I tend to get like variance in terms of, I think I tend to hit it too hard.
So you're hitting it on your target line, but you're not hitting your right landing spot.
Yes, it's like distance control.
Is there a primary club you use around for chipping, or is you use all of these?
I'd say it's probably 70% 60 and then the rest 54. Short-sighted, having to open the face, get it up in the air. I'm like way better than anything on the ground, letting it come out low and rolling. Like it almost like very basic 5 yards off the front of the green.
You'd rather be in the bunker.
Like I do better short-sighted in a little bit harder situation than I do just the basic pitching.
If you're in the middle of the fairway with like a 7-iron, and I say hit a trajectory window, versus you were in the trees and there was a little window, would you be better in the trees or would you be better in the middle of the fairway?
I would say I'm probably better in the trees, yeah.
Okay, so when you're in that non-creative 25 yards off, do you feel like you're creative there or feel there?
No, I think
You try and make it mechanics?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I think that's probably one of my biggest, is like I think I get stuck trying to focus on mechanics.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I always try and remind my players that the reason you put all this hard work in is so that the mechanics can be autopilot, right? Because the last thing in the world you want to be doing when you're playing is thinking about mechanics. You want to be thinking about what's the shot I need to hit, right? The best players in the world are trying to be creative. They're trying to move the ball. They're trying to land on certain spots. They're playing the game. They're not trying to control their mechanics. It's hard to do both at the same time.
20-yard chip shot off the edge of the green. It's flat. The ball lands. Do you know how far it's rolling out?
Dino's asking, a lot of times we'll do drills where we'll call it like ladder drills. We'll put like, imagine T's making a ladder. We'll be like, let's say this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the pin over here. We'll say, okay, I want you to land in 1 and roll the pin, or land in 4 and roll the pin. Can you control where it lands and how much it's running in your mind when you're doing this stuff?
Yeah, but I would say like the more that it has to roll, the harder it is for me.
Right, so landing in 1 going to the pin is way harder than landing in 4 going to the pin. Yeah. And do you know why?
I wouldn't know. I mean,
Okay. What if I told you, like most guys, if I said, okay, land on 4 and go to here, they're going to use their 60, right? When I say land on 1 and go to here, they're going to use their pitching wedge.
mm-hmm.
Do you ever do that?
I mean, I tend to only use 60 and 54.
Is that why this is a hard thing?
It could be, but I don't know.
You've never practiced that.
Yeah, I haven't spent much time doing that.
We need to do that. So most kids, when you're growing up, you get one set of golf clubs and it has, like, let's say, a sandwich in there, right? That's your lofted club. And you use that club to hit all your shots around the green. And you get really good at being able to try and control basically the club that you have. And if you grew up doing just a high lofted club like Hayden, right, you're going to like the high flop shots, the ones that take the ball up in the air because the club has a lot of loft. When we say, hey, I need to keep it down and make it bump and run, well, that's hard with a 60-degree club. Whereas if you're using all 4 wedges, which is what most players have, right? Usually there's a dispersion of maybe 4 degrees between their wedges. Now I've got the variety of launch angle and I can have low shots and high shots, and that can be an extreme weakness if you've never learned to do that. By the way, I love where you're at, right? So sorry for the million questions, but this, again, all of this is to hopefully give you simple recommendations to get better. The biggest advantage we have here is I get to have these conversations with more players than anybody in the world, and I can at least pass on to you what I think the best chippers do, what the best putters do, stuff like that. I would tell you, the guys that are really good at this, every club's in the bag. If I said, I want you to land in 1 and over here, they will pace this, right? They'll pace, they'll go, okay, 1 landing zone is 5 paces, and then it's 20 paces over here. They're like, oh, that's my 8-iron with a hip to hip. It goes 5 paces carry, 20 paces roll. Would that be an advantage? How are you gonna determine that? Practice. We got to practice these things. So I'm saying, like, you haven't been practicing this. Like, we need to expand your chipping practice, like, beyond like anything you've probably done so far right now. Because you might go, I didn't realize I had this shot. I just never tried that. When I look at practice, you're thinking practice. My coach gave me some mechanics, and I got to go grab my mechanics. Of course, you got to do that, but like that should be like 10 minutes, right? The other part is you said don't want to be number 1 in the world, right? Is whoever comes to the ball with more information wins. The only way you have more information is you've done it so many times in practice, right? So what I would encourage you to do is keep adding weapons. You're good at addition and subtraction. I'm like, you know, there's multiplication and division. We could add that too to your arsenal. Like, let's add some of those. Like, be creative. Every year we want to add weapons to your game. There's a certain shot I don't have, or there's a certain distance that I don't have command over. Well, let's make those goals for this year. And our practice, you know, of course, we can do stuff for maintenance of your mechanics, but at the same time, this year, we're going to be developing these new weapons. And I always say that every year, if you add 1, 2, 3 weapons, imagine in 10 years how many new weapons you have, right? That's really hard to beat. You've got to preserve your body for 40 years. It's not like the NFL, I just need 8 years out of you and we're good. You know what I mean? Like, this is 40 years. If you're going to Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday go hit hundreds of meaningless balls, there's no chance you're lasting 40 years, right? So I'm always like, it's got to be purposeful practice. You want to shift as much to random as you can. If you're trying to learn math, we need to do random math formulas, right? Bright spot, practice, like if you're good at 10 to 25, you should go, what do I do to practice it? Oh, I just hit a bunch of lag putts over there. Okay, we should probably learn from that and look and go, hey, maybe I should try and do the same for my short and see if that works, right? If your strength is playing the game, I want to improve that strength, right? And the reason you're good at playing the game is you know how to score, do something, but the more weapons you have, you're going to score better, right? I mean, that's my entire focus would be with you on is practice is going random and building more knowledge on every shot. Does that make sense? Again, I haven't even watched you swing yet. Okay. So sorry for that diversion, but you asked the genie how to practice, and that's, like I said, one of my favorite topics. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go look at is he asks, why am I not consistent day after day, right? So a lot of times when players say, hey, some days are good, some days are bad, well, I think a lot of people feel the same way about their body. Sometimes I wake up and I feel like I've got aches and pains, or I feel stiff, and some days I feel great. I want to make sure this isn't a physical problem. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go do a movement assessment just to get an idea of how he moves. Okay, now imagine you're in a barrel. Barrel's here, it's electrified. You can't touch the sides of the barrel. I want to see you just rotate in the barrel, but don't move your upper body. Good. Don't move your lower body. Now just rotate your upper body. Very good. Those are easy. Keeping your heels on the ground and the bar over your head, how low can you squat? And come on back up. And I'm going to watch you do that from the front one more time. And come on back up. Do you feel like you put more weight on your right leg when you do this? Let me see you do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. See that too. Keep the right foot square, pointing towards me. Don't let the right foot flare out. Same thing. Let me see you squat again. And come on back up. Do you notice the right foot go back to square? Go back to square. Do you notice it wants to kick out?
I didn't notice that.
Let me see you do it again. Nice and slow. Now you do, right? You feel the right foot wanting to spin out?
Yeah.
Keeping your heel on the ground. Try and get your knee in front of your toe as far as you can. Keeping your heel on the ground. And now compare that to your right ankle. Tell me if either one feels tighter.
I probably hit, yeah, this feels tighter.
Keep your mouth closed. Turn your head to the right. Touch my thumb with your chin. Let me see you turn your head to the left. Touch it. So ease your left. Keep your weight on your left leg and turn to the right. Now compare that to your right leg, turn to the left. Okay. So everything backswing is more restricted. Turning into your right that way, your left that way. Okay. Nice and slow, keeping your back pressed. Nice and slow, raise your arms up, keeping your back pressed. As far as you can go? Okay. Now just raise your right arm. Okay, come on up. Keep the knees together and rotate right as far as you can. Come back to center. And we're gonna do that again. Nice and slow. Back to center. Switch legs for me. Keep those knees together, nice and slowly turn to the left. And back to center. Keep those knees together, turn left. Yeah, okay, so we got 32 to the left, 35 to the right. Normal humans is 50 degrees. PGA Tour should be 55 to 60 degrees. You're like half. We're looking for we got some flexibility issues we got to work on. It's pretty clear here. We got some pretty good mobility restrictions with Hayden, especially in his backswing. We got some right hip problems, really big spine, trunk rotation problems, and we've got some shoulder mobility too. And you think about some of the biggest mobility joints in your body is the hip, the spine, and the shoulder. When those aren't working, well then we're gonna have to compensate and figure out other ways to get the club to the top of the backswing. And those are some of those compensations is what gets us in trouble. Ankle should be mobile, hip should be mobile, thoracic spine should be mobile, shoulder should be mobile, wrist should be mobile, lower back should be stable, knees should be stable. If for some reason you lose mobility here, which you have, let's say your body's tight here, most guys go, well, I need to go farther than that, right? And your brain goes, come on, thoracic spine, move. And the thoracic spine's like, boss, I'm trying, I can't go any farther. So the brain goes, well, screw you, then we gotta do something else. Right? So what it'll do is it'll go, maybe we'll use your lower back a little bit more, or maybe we'll try and use your scapula, your shoulder, and you start to lose stability in the stable joints because they're trying to create mobility. Right. That's when stuff goes bad. That's when injuries happen, that's where mechanics become problematic, is when you start using joints that weren't designed to move. You scare me for that right now. Like I haven't watched you swing yet, but I'm going, if you're using stable joints as mobile joints, we're not gonna get 40 years out of you, right? So I'm always like, all right, first and foremost, we got to make sure the mobile joints are working. And then we got to make you the best athlete possible with those mobile joints, right? It's very clear to me that these three need to be a part of your workout program, right? You should be doing some type of shoulder mobility, some type of hip mobility, some type of thoracic mobility, and then you can do all the better athlete stuff. But if you don't, all that stuff's gonna fall apart because it's not designed to do that. Does that make sense? Take your arm like this and just rotate that back as far as you can. How much of the workout that you do on like 3 days a week is mobility based versus strength? You try the other side.
It's really not much.
More strength, right? We see this a lot where guys are like, hey, I go work out all the time. And I say, well, what do you do? And they're like, well, I do strength training, right? But I don't do any stretching. I'm starting to see a theme here with Hayden, right? We talked about practice. He likes block practice. I got a feeling he goes in the gym and he kind of does block practice too. He just grabs the dumbbells, does some strength work, and he just hits his reps over and over again. I think of fitness very much like I think of practice with golf. I want to work on all aspects of my body, from my mobility to my balance to my power to my strength. And I want to start adding weapons as I go through. I'm not just going in there and doing mindless repetitions to maintain my strength. If you don't put the time in to work on all parts, all aspects of your physicality, well, then the parts you don't work on are going to suffer. Maybe you stand on the mat for me. I want to do a little bit of power testing real quick. You're just going to do a vertical jump. Squat and jump. You can use your arms, anything you want. Just want to take a look at what your jump looks like. Yep, whenever you're ready. Good, that was 22.8. Can you beat that? 22.9, can you beat that? 23.7, keep going. If you keep jumping higher, you get another one. 24.1. So what if I told you 26 is PGA Tour average? Let me see. Can you get to that? 26. I just lied my ass off, but you got there. 26. 23 is PGA Tour average, but that's pretty good. Keeps going farther. Each time he goes farther, you get another throw. Okay, stay right there. Don't move. Nice. Hayden's got some really good club head speed, so we know he develops power. So we look at his strength, and I see his strength. I see his power. But the one thing that's also very obvious is that he's losing mobility. Now, why is this a problem? We've got great players out there with short swings that can create lots of power, but it puts all the stress on your muscles, right? Your muscles are your power developers, your elastic tissue, all those things have to work in a much shorter period of time. This is looking at your overall power. Think of these as horsepower. Right now it says your lower body is a 26 horsepower engine, your core is a 20.67 horsepower engine, and your upper body is a 21.67. So your legs are definitely your most powerful part of your body. Your core is the weakest. Not that any of these are weak, but that's your numbers. Now if you go look at this, if I click on your lower body, your horsepower is 26. That's 18% higher than our tour average, right? If I go look at your core right here, your core is 3% higher than PGA Tour average, right? It's 13% below your lower body though. If I look at your upper body, all three of them. So right now the app is saying, dude, you don't need strength. You need speed and mobility.
That would make sense to me probably.
So our AI engines, if I was going to build you a workout just to make you a better player right now, would all be focused on speed and mobility, just so you know, right? Okay, now I have a good idea of kind of what you can physically do. I'd like to go watch you swing a little bit. Can you go do that real quick? If you have a longer swing, you have more time to apply force and velocity. You can actually develop speed with a longer swing. If you have a longer swing, that's usually because you're mobile. If you start to take away length as you develop strength, you better build enough strength to counterbalance the speed you're going to lose from length, right? If you do your strength training properly, you shouldn't sacrifice mobility or length to gain strength. Olympic lifters are some of the most flexible athletes on the planet. You've got to maintain your mobility at the same time you build strength.
Double plate ready. Double plate ready.
Sweet. Let me take a look at that real quick. That's some good numbers. You don't even realize how good those numbers are. That's really, really good. I don't even want to say, I want to get your 6-iron first. Do 6-iron, I love that. First impression looking at the force plate, this is kind of what we preach here. Perfect kinetic sequence, right? So in the order in which he does this is great. The magnitudes that he does this is great. You can really see why he's got that high club head speed.
Double plate ready. Double plate ready. Double plate ready.
So Like, what do you guys work on? Like,
So a lot of it is getting shorter in the backswing because I tend to get a little long and a little bit this
how do you get shorter?
I try to feel a little more restriction early, like in my hips, and just push it away with my left side and get to here, and then turn up. And then the other thing was, I've been getting a little bit, like, moving outside of my legs, and so trying to keep this, like the hip and the shoulder, like kind of rotating together and staying on top of each other.
Okay.
Instead of having my, like a slide move. The slide feeling for me has been a little bit of something like I've had to fight this year. But the coach that I was going to before, he didn't like that my head drifted forward in transition. And so he was trying to get me to go that way, but I didn't really like it though.
So the two things that he talked about working on is the trunk starting to reverse towards the target and maybe a little bit of slide move. The good news is right now is I'm not seeing the slide. He's got really good brakes on the force plate, so maybe they've addressed this already. I see more of the trunk being part of the problem, and I think they're working on the right thing. Well, those are very different. Your driver and your iron are very different. That's interesting. Okay, so what you described, would you say that's more of an iron problem or a driver problem?
The slide or?
All of the above, yep.
I would say with irons, I tend to go this way more.
Yep.
I would say, like, with driver, I don't do it, and I think a lot of it's just I'm starting further behind it and hitting up on it. But the slide, I would say, like, kind of getting too far this way has been everything.
Yeah, what you described with your iron is definitely what you do. But you said your iron's more your superpower than your driver?
I hit my irons well, yes.
Is it a cut? So something unique that's shown up here in the 3D lab is when I look at his driver versus iron, he told me his superpower was his iron. Now he said his superpower with the driver was distance, not accuracy, but it sounded like he liked iron better than driver. I'm looking at his data, I kind of like the driver better than the iron. They're both great, but I definitely see more issues that could be improved on the iron than the driver. All right, let's take a look here real quick. That was pretty good. You agree? Yeah, I really like the driver. This is where you can start to get that little leaning too far, right?
Yeah, it's like kind of that transition where it just
it gets away from you.
It just kind of drags a little bit and just kind of pulls everything left.
Yeah. Man. Need to do, let's take the 60 degree. First of all, just stock chip, land it there.
Double plate ready. Double plate ready. Double plate ready.
That's really good too. I'm really close to saying I wouldn't change anything. I just want you to know, like, this is, I mean, I need to make you more mobile. I show you some of these numbers. They're really, really good. I need to do one thing just to make sure. I'm looking at the force plate. The driver looks amazing. So I go look at the iron, and it looks like his sequence is off a little bit. He kind of twists before he rocks, so he actually gets a little steep. You know, anytime somebody says that their superpower is irons, you don't want to fix something that's not broken. So I always want to take as much time as I can to look at all the data just to make sure that we shouldn't just say, you just keep doing you. You ever done 3D before? Okay. So what you just showed me is how you create power. Right? The iron is not as good as the driver, but you already know why. Iron, you get a little bit this way, and I think that's causing some of this. 3D helps me see, once you create this power, how you transfer it through your body. Let me just check to make sure that's good too, and then I got everything I need to be able to tell you what I would do.
With the iron going this way, what is that? Like, why would it not be as good?
I don't want you to change anything yet.
Okay.
I'll show you. I know if I say something, you're going to try and fix it. So I know you guys. You've got a unique little move, but I like it. But my first observation, I'm just going to say, but I don't want you to change anything because I might really like this, is your superpower is your lower body in the gym. That's potentially not your superpower in your swing, right? Which means you could even hit it farther, which is scary. So I really like Hayden's swing, and I think he understands what he's doing. Like, he gets his trunk a little too far forward, we call it reverse spine angle. He doesn't have a lot of hip to shoulder separation in the backswing, like we're talking like 30 degrees. In transition, he gets this great hip to shoulder separation. So his lower body goes first, and he has this really extreme wrist set. He uses a lot of cocking of the club and releasing with his arms. That's really a secret to power for a lot of players. You have great mobility in your wrist. You use it a lot in your swing. Big set hinge. Amazing how you do that. What I can't measure, I can't see, is how well you're transferring between the segments. So I can see how good your pelvis is, your trunk, your arms, which we're going to measure now. But I can see where this motion here would be death for you. That would be a big problem. And I can see I don't think you're doing it bad right now, but I can see the remnants of that. Like, I can see that that's been there before. And I think it's a good idea to get rid of that. When the upper body gets closer to the target and gets in front of your lower body, it's really hard to start with your lower body. Your trunk's already ahead of it, right? So it's very easy just to use your arms. So one of the quickest ways to knock your lower body out of the game is get your trunk in front of your lower body. And that's the last thing Hayden's gonna wanna do, because his main power source is his legs, and it's just gonna put a lot more stress on his upper body. And by the way, what you're struggling with in your iron, I have a very strong feeling that that's 100% because of mobility. If it's hard for you to bend from your hips, you'll bend more from your spine. Right? If it's hard for me, I'll bend more from here. So you'll get a little more round over here. If it's hard for me to rotate over here, it's easier to do this. Like, all these things are replacements. It's like taking the path of least resistance.
Right.
You know what I mean? That happens all over the body.
Yep.
Now again, it could also just be, hey, you just don't know what you're doing. You need a lesson on it. But a lot of times, you're a product of what your body can and can't do. On your chipping, there's a couple things that I was looking for that really make bad chippers bad chippers. You don't have those. Could it just be as simple as you're just not practicing the right way?
Could be that.
I look at your mechanics over there and I'm like, you should be a good chipper here. And you said contact's good.
Contact is good.
So anytime contact's good, that to me, I'm like, then it should be good. When it comes to chipping, there's two basic things I like to look at, and this is kind of my funny nomenclature. I look at what are called foundation principles, and I look at fundamentals. Foundation principles is basically the foundation in which you swing your upper body around. That's really your lower body. Lower body needs to stay stable. I want to make sure that your lower body is not collapsing, it's not moving towards the golf ball, and it's not backing up. Second thing is fundamentals. Now, fundamentals is basically how the club is moving, how you're moving the club. Going up and down the plane, the club head's not getting inside, we're not using the leading edge, we're using more of the bounce. All those things that really make good chippers. I'm seeing all these fundamentals in Hayden's data. So I'm not really seeing this as a mechanical problem, which makes me go back to the practice problem. That's a good genie question about like being a better practice, because a lot of people don't think about that, like how important that is. Sometimes guys just get lucky. They don't realize how good they are at practice, and they don't realize that's why they're that good. And some guys don't realize how bad they are at practice. You're in first grade, you're never going to second grade.
Right.
I'm like, the reason we're practicing is so we can keep learning.
It's an interesting, you saying 12 times 23 and then you just
Yeah.
over and over, and it's like I don't even have to think this.
They call it the illusion of learning, where they would take people who would do block practice and then take people who do random practice. Now, what do you think is easier, block practice or random practice?
Block.
Way easier, right? Because you also, like 12 times 23 gets easier, faster. You seem like you're, man, I'm a math whiz, right? So there's an illusion that you're actually learning. But then when they actually go look at real math, where it's not just 12 times 23, the person who was doing random who said, I don't think I'm getting better, it's hard, I'm struggling, they perform better. So the problem is not only does block practice not learn as much, it gives you the perception that you're learning more, which feeds the problem.
It's not as comfortable. Right?
Definitely not as comfortable. Random practice is not easy. Nothing good's easy. That's why they call it hard work. It's hard. I'm just gonna hit a couple just to make sure the wires are in your way or anything. Just go ahead and fire away whenever you're ready. Don't worry. Weird, right?
Double plate ready.
Man, your hands are awesome. They're just, you're really good. Like, I don't know if you try and control your hands or if it's just autopilot, but whatever it is, keep doing it. 6-iron, just want to make sure this isn't crazy different from the driver.
Double plate ready.
Okay. All right, so looking at the 3D, I can see that his sequence goes a little more off with the iron. In other words, the arm tends to get a little ahead of the trunk. It tends to peak its acceleration. So I can see he's doing that more with the iron. And if you think about it, with the driver, the big difference is you want an upward positive attack angle. It almost makes you want to keep your trunk back. With an iron, you feel like you can get your upper body forward because you can attack down, but you just can't let your upper body get in front of your lower body. That's really, really important. Good, that's consistent. So the driver and the iron, you transfer the energy through your body the same way, which is good. So there's nothing different there. Good on your coach's trunk going too far forward is definitely what the data is showing. So that's good. It's matching what you're working on. The good news is the driver and the iron have the same sequence on 3D. In other words, how he transfers energy through his body is the same. So at least we don't have this big discrepancy. The bad news is the sequence is consistently off. Hayden gets his lower body first, but then his arms peak speed before his trunk. And this is very common when the trunk gets ahead of the lower body, right? So this confirms that I think what he's working on with his coaches is the right thing. Now, if this looks like what I think it looks like, chipping is all going to be about dramatic practice change, not technique change. Okay, I'm going to agree with you and your coaches that your chipping technique is probably not the problem. But I don't like the way you practice, if that wasn't obvious. All right, let's go through third genie thing, practice. Okay, here's what I think you should do, right? And this isn't what Greg thinks, this is what I've seen the best practicers, I think the ones most efficient. I think you should create a list every year of things that would be cool to have in the arsenal that you don't have right now, right? It could be shots, it could be numbers, it could be, there's a million things to do. And create a goal, like every year, add 2 or 3 weapons to the quiver. I mean, just think of that in 10 years, how many, you've had 30 new weapons, that'd be pretty awesome, right? Have you ever done something like that? Okay, so that's number one. Like, you gotta create a plan, like, and stick to that. Like, my goal this year is to add on my wedge and my 50 to have 4 numbers with each of them. Right? Like, that should for sure be one of them, right? By looking at your stats, you should look at, or you should know your superpowers, right? And you say like, okay, if my superpower is irons or driver, that should be 60% of all your practice, and it should be random. You're just keeping sharp at it, and when I see random, there's 9 shots. Do you have all 9?
I'd say I got everything. The raw side of it would be
The hard part.
the hardest part.
Okay. So straights and cuts, you got those. You got those 6. The draw part you try and avoid if you have to. Now again, you don't need all 9 to win the Masters, right? You actually need 1 to win the Masters, right? But when you practice, I would practice hitting your shots. Hitting, so like if I was going to do driver, I might do a high fade and low fade, straight high. I'll do a couple of those. Just hitting your windows, hitting your trajectories. So a lot of times we talk about the 9 windows or the 9 shots, right? There's more than 9 shots, but there's basically 9 categories, right? There's starting the ball right, starting the ball left, starting the ball straight. And on all of those, high, low, medium, those are your 9 trajectory windows. A lot of times what you see with great players is they have a preferred shot shape. But there are certain courses, certain holes that really demand you to hit a draw. So you want to be able to hit all of them if you can. And I always feel like it's really important in your practice is to practice all those shots. Even if you feel like you're just a straight ball hitter, the more you practice the ball moving, you can actually appreciate getting rid of movement and hitting the ball straighter. And also it's important before you go play, if you are a person who has, let's say, 4 or 5 shots, to check them, to make sure that you've got them today, right? Let's say you've got 4 primary shots you like to use. And on the range before the round, all of a sudden you realize only 3 of them are working today. Instead of trying to hit that 4th shot, just play with the 3 shots you got, right? You can figure out that later. So I just feel like it helps with a lot of the confidence. It helps with understanding what your game has. And it really helps you develop your practice. On my superpowers, I like to do random practice. You can pick different holes. Maybe if you have the course map for next week, you can play a couple holes and hit different shots. As long as the shot's different, you're resetting after you win or changing clubs each time, those are all random, right? Just never doing the same shot twice in a row. And you're evaluating yourself on your process. Now, do you have a full process? When you walk up to a ball and it's time to hit, you have a routine, a pre-shot routine that's, yep. So when you practice, do you practice your pre-shot routine?
No, I'd say I practice like the last, like the behind it, walking into the shot.
Yeah. One of the worst things you can do in practice is not practice your sport, right? Can't tell you how many guys, they tee up, they hit, and they tee up again, and they hit, and they tee up again, they hit, and this is how they practice. And then when they go play, it's, okay, let's look at my target. They come over here, they have a little practice swing, and then they have this point of initiation, they walk in, they do this whole thing, and I'm like, how often are you practicing that? And they're like, well, when I play. I'm like, if you don't do that when you practice, I feel like that doesn't count. To me, it's not how many balls you hit, it's how many processes you run. That's a process. Pre and post is a process. If I'm your caddy, and it's the Masters, and we got a one-shot lead, we're on 18. Say you bomb your drive, and we've got a 9-iron in the middle of the fairway. You got no excuse, dude. Like this is the shot you're gonna hate, but there's no excuse, there's no creativity, just hit it on there. And you look at me with your 9-iron, and you go, I'm freaking out, right? What can I say to you to calm you down? If I say to you, Hayden, stop thinking, just run your process. You've done it a million times. You're gonna go, okay, you're right. But if you haven't run it a million times, I can't even say that, right? So that's the whole point of practice is you've done this so many times, it's almost like autopilot. I don't even remember doing it, but I know I did it. It's like you drove to work and you're like, I don't even know how I got here, but I know I drove. But right, it's the only way to do that is to practice it a million times. Okay, so you're gonna hear us talk a lot about process here, and that's basically what you do when you actually play the game of golf. In golf, when we practice, it's in a different environment than when we play. When you go, let's say practice basketball, you're on a basketball court, right? When you go practice soccer, you're on a soccer field. When you go practice golf, you're not on a golf course, you're on a driving range. And a lot of times what you do when you play is very different than when you do when you practice. Like if you go to play and you walk up to a golf ball, first thing you do is you evaluate the lie, you look at the weather, you figure out the shot you want to hit, you pick the club. There's all these things that go into your process of what you're going to try and do. How many full swing shots do you have in 18 holes?
Well, like 40 maybe?
Probably less than that.
Or I guess it's even less, yeah.
Probably like 35.
35, yeah.
Okay, so understand if you are not playing today, but you want to practice, like everybody else is playing, but I took this week off, but I don't want to feel like I'm behind, run 35 processes today. That's 18 holes. I mean, it's not hard. If you think about it, like that's not a lot. Your practice might be 200 balls. I'm going, if you ran 35 processes, that's 18 holes. We don't need to do more than that, right? So, and if I think about drives, there's probably maximum 10 to 14 processes, right? So if you ran 14 processes with your driver, you just played 18 holes.
Is there a time for that, like, beating balls?
If we're gonna go perform today, and it's free throws, if you sit here and do free throws, you'll be better at free throws, right? So the day of the game, I'm not trying to learn. I'm trying to warm up the gun. It's okay to do block right before the tournament. I'm not trying to learn anything new, right? I'm just kind of warming up and just getting the process so I can hit my drive. Because I really don't even want you learning throughout. You're about to perform. When you're performing, block practice works great. When you're trying to learn, it sucks. If you're on the driving range, if you're just raking over a ball and hitting, there's no thought about lie, it's perfect, there's no thought about direction. Those are different sports. If you want to take your game to the next level, you should practice what you do when you do in your sport. So if you're on a driving range, you want to pretend like you're playing a golf hole. You want to go ahead and do the shot selection. You want to try and change the clubs. You want to try and hit different shots. Make it more like your process that you run when you play golf, and you'll be more effective. Understand volume. I don't need 300 balls. 300 balls is 10 rounds of golf. Like, you don't need to go practice 10 rounds of golf, right? We just need to put a good volume of process. When you're playing, I always, especially in your practice rounds, I think it's important to evaluate your process. Because I think you'll start to notice when you run your full process every time, it just gets better. That sounds like block, but there's always random stuff inside the process. Different yardage, different shot, all kind of stuff's in there, right? When you are working on mechanics, it's okay to do block a couple times just so you understand what you're supposed to do. But just because you can do it in block doesn't mean you have it in random. And what really matters is if you have it in random. So as soon as you understand what you're supposed to do, you should try and do it with random right away. Especially if, like, I know what course I'm playing next week, the week before, let's play it a bunch of times. In your mind, going through and doing it, there's a lot of research shows how powerful that is. In a game like golf, how often do you get the same shot over and over again? I think the only time that happens is if you hit it out of bounds. And I don't really think we want to practice that, right? So every shot has a different lie, it has different wind characteristics, different shot shapes, you want different golf club. So really the key here is look at the research, pay attention to the sport you're playing. Everybody will tell you in this world, if you want to learn quicker, go to random practice. So that's how I like to practice superpower. Adding the tools. What I like to do is, it's kind of like adding the numbers to your distance wedge. I call it sprinkler. If you watch a sprinkler, sprinkler goes different. I might take, like, let's say you're 50 degree, you don't have a hip to hip, right? No. Yeah, so I might go hip to hip. Let's go out somewhere on a course where I can just go hip to hip and hit one here. Then I aim over there, hip to hip over there. And aim over here, hip to hip over there. No previous information, just different hip to hips. Make a circle all around you if you can. Then take your rangefinder or pace off how far each one of these went. You do this enough, you're gonna get like, okay, hip to hip somewhere between 43 and 46, right? You kind of get an idea of what it is. Then you go out, when you're in your practice rounds, you're like, let's try at 43, drop one at 43, and I'll try my hip to hip. If all of a sudden it goes 46 in the round, you make adjustments, within a month you should be like, I think I got a new number, I think it's 45, like you'll figure it out. But I like sprinkler and then like trying it in practice. But it should take you a month to add a number, a real number that you can be confident with, you know what I mean? More information you have coming to the ball is better. So if you know this shot, I'm gonna do these things, and it's like, okay, maybe this month I'm gonna work on downhill chip shots and put some random ones around the green. Gonna go around trying to different targets with it, full process going through. I just feel like that's gonna.
I think that when you're talking about like full process and going through that, I would say for me, I probably can find myself on course in tournaments where it's like I would say that I go through the process, but it's probably some of it's.
And by the way, you're only lying to yourself, right? So when you evaluate your process, be real, right? If you're like, yeah, that wasn't that good,
right?
And remember,
I would say there's a good bit of. There are some times where I'll hit shots and I'll be like I know better than that.
Yeah.
But it happened after the fact.
And by the way, if you go back and look at it, you didn't run your process.
Right.
It's almost always, and that's what I'm telling you, is your whole goal in practice is if you can run fives, if it's 0 to 5 process every time, you're just going to be better because you've done it many times.
And I'm almost thinking too, like playing at home, played it a million times. It's really easy to not run the process.
Oh my God, it's so much easier to do blocks and no process.
I'm almost training myself to where it's easy to skip steps.
1000%.
And yeah, that's what's going through my head as you're.
You know what's easy? 12 times 23, 276. We already know that, right? So it's easy to do that, but it's not easy to. Redoing the math, it's hard to do. Like especially if you're like, I'm going to the range, I'm just going to hit 7 irons. I'm like, it's hard to do math when you just have the same club, but you can. You just got to hit different. It's just harder. It's hard to work. But you know what works really good? Hard work. You know what I mean? On putting, I mean. Take your lag putting and do that with short putting. You've spent all your time in practice with some of your block stuff to make sure everything's square and lined up, and that's fine. That's great. A lot of guys do. They sight the gun different ways. I'm like, cool, that's cool. But when it's time to go, it's full process with putting, right? You're a good green reader? Okay, so you do your green read, you run through your full process. Just the last thought is energy, and I'd like for you to practice some short start, we call it short start puts, like drop 5 balls around a different lengths around a hole, and go run full process, full read. His strengths in his game, like his distance putting, he actually does random practice and he actually motor learns properly. And if we can take those same principles, I call it bright spot training, apply the bright spots to the part that he's struggling on and really make more effective practice, those will become bright spots as well. From the first question, consistency. It's obvious to me we have some major mobility issues, right? It's hard for you to turn your spine here, your hip to shoulder separation, you're at 36.5 degrees. Our average is 46 degrees, right? So it's about 10 degrees below our normal average. You don't have a ton of hip to shoulder separation. You have enough, but that I think a lot of times when you don't have that hip to separation, or if you don't have the mobility in your shoulder, your hip, your spine over there, the brain kind of looks for other ways to get this power. I'm going to get you access to this class. One of the things that can limit your mobility is something called fascia. If you've ever had a steak, it's the white part of the steak. We have that fascia, that connective tissue that surrounds our entire body, even goes through our organs. And one of the things we've learned now is that a lot of times mobility restrictions have more to do with the fascia than they do with the muscle, believe it or not. So one of the primary things we try and work on is trying to create that elasticity back in that fascia. One of the best programs for that is a program that was founded by a gentleman, an osteopath named Guy Voyer, called LDOA, a series of exercises that really help, not only help open up the joints, but to expand the fascia and get the fascia moving properly. It's gonna kill you. right? Like they look like they're nothing. The ones that you're like, oh my God, this is killing me, you need more of those, okay? But you're gonna love these. I just have a feeling after you do those, you're gonna be dying when you do it, but when you're done, you're gonna go, God, I actually feel good after. That's what I'm hoping. Okay, if there's any discomfort, you have to let me know. So really think you should do those because I think that's gonna help your swing more than anything. It'll help your posture, your rotation, all that kind of stuff. So first thing is we have the AI program it's on your phone already. I'm gonna add this Eldoa workout. So maybe the AI one, you do that maybe twice a week. Maybe the Eldoa, you add 3 days a week. But like, you can do mobility every day if you want. But if you did like every other day or 5 days a week, I'm telling you in 3 months, you're gonna be like, I feel amazing. I really feel it's gonna take down a lot of the soreness and you'll be using it. I think you're out of your mind not to have a medical person working with you, right? There's some great guys in Dallas, some great ones. But I really feel like whether it's the tour trailer or other ones, so you've never experienced any of this.
No, not really.
I always say mobility problems are like a brick wall, right? Exercise is like a hammer and chisel, can start knocking on the wall. Manual therapists, they're bulldozers, right? They'll just knock the wall down and now the exercise is just keeping it down, right? So it just makes the exercise more effective, if that makes sense. I think you need some bulldozing. So anytime you have mobility problems, you've got two options to try and improve this. There's exercise and there's manual therapy. Sometimes when you have serious mobility problems, you just want a bulldozer to knock the wall down. That's a manual therapist. That's a chiropractor, a physical therapist, an osteopath. Those manual therapists are really gifted at you just lay on the table and then getting rid of it. And then you can use exercises as a hammer and chisel to keep the mobility down. Someone like Hayden, who's playing at a high level, has mobility problems, he really needs to get that manual therapy into his routine. We need spine, hip, and shoulder. Those are your primary things. That is what's affecting your golf game the most right now, from setup to how you rotate. Honestly, the main thing is spine. If we can get this moving right here, that might be enough. I think once most coaches realize that, if I tell you to do something you can't physically do, you're not gonna like it, right? If I give you that ability, now we're all gonna be happy. You know what I mean? One of the worst things I can do is tell you to do something you can't do. That's frustrating. So, but I like this because I think we just need to unlock this first and then see, do you just start using it in your swing or do we even have to worry about it? So I like to do the physical part first, and then if it just bleeds in your swing, we're good. If we do the physical stuff and unlock it, and you're still not doing it, well then we need to talk with the coach and say, okay, here's some drills to get back in there, but you might just start using it. It might be that easy, right? I really feel you're more of a physical thing. I like your swing. I like your mechanics. I like everything. Everything you're talking about is your weaknesses, which is good. But when you do it right, dude, it's like I can spend 2 hours showing you all the good stuff you're doing, right? And there's some really good stuff here. I'm one of those guys where if it's really good, do you need to know? Just keep doing it. I don't even think you need, just don't quit your day job. You're doing pretty good. So I feel like I can spend a lot of time going through all this stuff for you. I don't think we should do that. Here's the key takeaways. I need to give you exercises to break this open. I'd like to introduce you to a bulldozer to see if we can just break it open in 2 sessions, and then let's keep the exercises to keep it away. Change the way you practice, go into more random, add arsenal around the green for chipping, create more speed control around the putting green, and I'll see you at the Masters. So, don't make this hard.
Okay.
Does that sound like a plan?
Yep.
Love it, man.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Okay, so great day here with Hayden Springer. Some of the takeaways that I'm taking from this. So number one, I think the importance of random practice versus block practice and just effective practice all around. A lot of players are out there willing to put in the hours and the time, but a lot of times they don't know the best way to practice. So we really need to manage those practice sessions and make sure that they're using those effectively. I wish more players would really spend the time and effort to set out, create those goals at the start of the year, make sure that your practice is adding weapons to your game, and make sure that when you are practicing, because you're going to put in all this hard work, make sure it's the most effective practice and try and do more random practice. And number two is your swing is a byproduct of your body. We call it the body-swing connection, right? If you have physical limitations, you tend to try and create new patterns to make up for those. Hayden had this mobility problem where it was hard for him to load into his right hip, hard for him to load into his spine, hard for him to load his shoulder. So instead, he's just started leaning. If he gets those mobility things taken care of, the ability to load is going to dramatically improve, right? So he's not going to be searching for this, getting the club up in the air. He'll be able to do it with just rotation and load. And that's really where his struggles have been with his swing. So he's kind of been fighting what his body can physically do. And once those physical limitations go away, man, this gets a lot easier. So if you guys like content like this and you want to see more, please hit the subscribe and like button below.